Everybody, hope you're enjoying the day. We're talking about communication, and the first point I want to talk about in relation to communication is one that most people think is the least important. I actually think it's the most important, and that is communication does not lie at the fault of anything that occurs within the organization. What do I mean by that? Typically, if relationships don't do well, if there's problems, stresses, conflicts within an organization, one of the first things that's always said is you need to have greater communication, more broader communication, more frequent communication. In other words, it's the interactions between management and non-management. It's just the interactions between people that seems to be missing. And if you just corrected that issue, if you addressed that aspect, then the organization would work perfectly. There's a second aspect that lies at the fault of often communication, or so it says. And that is that the unhappiness, the bitterness, the lack of morale or low morale in the organization is a result of the inability of management to communicate messages effectively to staff. I also think that's false. Granted, nearly everybody you meet can transmit a message better. We've never really seen a perfect email or even a perfect commercial. There's good ones. There's good ones that get consumers to purchase a product. But there's usually something that could be improved. There's something that's missing. Messages can usually be improved, and they're often improved after you've sent them. And people say, well, there's a way you could have done it different and better. I suggest this or I suggest that. That's true. But the message itself is often faulted in the way that it's presented, the way it's delivered, rather than what's actually said. And this is because you can often debate what the message actually is. Here's an example. If an organization is going to cut staff and you happen to be one of the ones that are losing your job, you may say, well, it's the way that the organization did it. It's the manner in which they performed the layoffs. They were cold-hearted. They did not feel like they cared. In fact, all evidence may be to the contrary. They may have done a deliberate choice in laying off people, and they may have had to lay off people to save the jobs of so many others. Difficult decision. And the key is this. No matter how they roll it out, no matter how they publicize it, no matter what message they create, it's just not going to be received well by people who receive the message, especially those who've been damaged by it, those who've had an adverse effect on whatever message is being sent. And even though it may be fiscally prudent to lay off some people in the organization, and so employees would see the value and the logic in doing that. If it affects you negatively, you have to have something to complain about. And that's often the way the message was given. In my background in human resources, this happens often. You see people in human resources who are claiming that they just don't seem to care. They do, but they just have a tough job and they have to make tough decisions. You can never do it perfectly. You can never inform a person that they're going to be fired or laid off and do it in a way that's humanistic to their liking, because the message is just one that no one really wants to hear. So that's some backgrounds on communication. Even though we spend quite a bit of time on communication, hope to get it right. If it's a difficult message that you have to convey, the odds are, no matter how you do it, no matter how much time and effort and compassion you put into that message, it's just not going to be received well. Doesn't mean we didn't try, but it just means that the results are going to be suspect by those who are adversely affected by it. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the day.